Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson and Jim Jonas with another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today we have Kerri Maxey, Clark County District Court Judge, Family Division, Department N. But before we get to Miss Maxey, Jim, do you have any rants?
Well, yes. So I was actually talking with Miss Maxey prior to you coming in. And so obviously, unless you were in a cave somewhere, you know what happened on Saturday. And I was actually discussing it a little bit. And I got myself a little bit of hot water when I was saying that I don't think that women should have been a part of Trump's detail. And, well, obviously, we know where that led. And I said, okay, just pause a second.
I counted 5 female Secret Service women there. The most I've ever seen covering a president before.
Yeah. So here was what, and this is why I said to Miss Maxey, this was the issue. I wouldn't be, if you were the president, I wouldn't be on your Secret Service detail either. Height. How am I supposed to jump in front of you and completely guard you from a bullet when I'm shorter than you are? That was my height. They should be able, if you look, and when he's being pulled,
but with all due respect, President Trump is not a short guy.
No,
he's about what, 6'3"?
He's 6'3", almost 6'4". Yeah, no, he's a tall guy. But the thing is that they still should then get taller people to be a part of that specific part of the detail. Right. I mean, obviously, we'll see how everything works out. But there's obviously a lot of breakdown in that. And I don't buy that we didn't put somebody on that roof because it was sloped. I think that was kind of a cop-out by the director. Thought that was a little ridiculous. But, we'll see. Just thank God that Trump is okay. Mm-hmm. But first and foremost, the fireman that lost his life. Yes. And he did it in the most brave way, too. He jumped on his family to protect his family. So just prayers out to that family. And, that takes a lot of courage. So God bless him for being willing to do that. So that's my main thing. I think thoughts and prayers for him. And then obviously, I'm just glad that Trump's okay, because the last thing the country needs right now is chaos. I had so many people calling me up like, well, if Trump would have been killed, then how would the GOP come up with the nominee? And I'm like, well, it would have went to the convention, and then it would have been chaos.
Probably would have been riots. Who knows?
Yeah, I know. And you and I, being as involved in politics for as long as we have, we've been a part of some political conventions on the county and state level, so we know how combative, to say the least, those conventions can get when they're at each other. So.
But I did bodyguard work for a number of years.
Yeah.
And I saw discrepancies beyond that. I mean, if I'm not there, but if I was there, you would never see President Trump until the next day, because he was exposed, his face, his chest, the hand up in the air. No, I don't know if there's another shooter down in the crowd. All clear for that guy on the roof.
One guy, yeah.
But I don't know what else is around. 100%. I don't know what's behind me. I don't know what's in the crowd. I don't know nothing of that. No. You wouldn't see him anymore. He would have been fully covered. Yep. He wouldn't do no fist bumps or none of that. You wouldn't see him. The next day, he could be doing the fist bump.
Yep.
But you will 100%. Not see him anymore.
There was a lot of, and it's interesting that you say that, because I watched a ton of interviews, and that was a former Secret Service agent, and he was a retired Marine too, and he said the number one thing those people should have done is when he was taught, I need my shoes, and he did that whole thing, he should have been immediately covered, and he should have been knocked back down.
Yeah,
like I don't care who you are, you're getting protected.
My job is to protect you.
Yeah.
That's it.
They said that. And then they said even prior, when there was all that radio traffic, that there was somebody on the roof. Mm-hmm. Like he should have been immediately taken off that podium and put in a car until they could figure out. They said, well, this wasn't the Secret Service, but the local police was like, well, we have police officers kind of looking for him. Okay, well, then Trump should have never got up to speak till that guy was found to begin with. And that's my opinion anyway.
But you know what? If all that did was make him somewhat of a martyr,
right?
True. And if people were on the fence about voting for him, now they're gonna vote for him.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of people that call me up and say, I was on the fence, but after that, After they try to kill that man, I'm gonna vote for him and make him be my next president, just because.
Yeah.
Just because. And all I could say is that Donald J. Trump, from me to you, I hope that you become the next president of these United States. And that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Well, me too. In 2016, I voted for Trump. So I voted for Trump in 2016. I voted for Trump 2020. But like I was telling Miss Maxey, I wasn't like this. Trump is like almost like God status, like some people I know, right? But I did like him better than Hillary, and I did like him better than Biden, just as far as political part of it. But I do gotta say I'm glad he's alive, and he does have my vote this time. Again, I was going to vote for him anyway. More than anything, just because of how the mental decline of the current president.
I mean, the guy's a multi-billionaire, right?
Yeah, he does.
Maybe on paper, let's just say.
Right.
He's a multi-billionaire. I mean, he's been impeached, he's been indicted, he's been in mugshots, and he's been attempted assassination on. He doesn't have to do none of that.
I know. It's still willing to do
he
it.
He could have just stayed home, be the billionaire, get caviar, have women phantom,
right, yeah.
Eat some grapes,
just
have some
chill at Mar-a-Lago and play golf and fly around the world.
It's not like he needs the money. Right. It's not like he needs the fame. He was on The Apprentice. He didn't need the money or the fame. But I truly believe that this man really, 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 even if some people want to call him a narcissist at times, really and truly believe in this country.
Yeah.
The love that he has shown for this country. And that's when I look into any military man or woman's eyes, I want to see that love that you have for this country, the reason why you're wearing that uniform, not because it's going to pay your college tuition, not because your mama kicked you out and you need a job, is because you have love for this country. And when I look at him, that's what I see.
Yeah.
The man has love for this country. And that's what you need to be a president or to be any public servant for that matter. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah. Just on maybe a little bit of a lighter note, on all these interviews and stuff that I've watched since Saturday, there was one guy that was on there and he was being interviewed on a podcast and reminded me of you right away. Retired Marine. This is how he kept referring to the military. He goes, well, oh no! Actually, it was J.D. Vance that said it. One of his interviews.
A Marine.
A Marine. I know. So anyway, he says, well, and he was talking about as far as his policy, as far as when and when not to go to war. So he goes, I really think that I'm paraphrasing, but the way he referred to the military is like when we engage in combat, the Marines and other soldiers, he wouldn't even name the other branches. It was Marines, and then there were the other soldiers. And I was like, that's Steve's answer right there. That's the way Steve answered that question.
But I don't want to take any more time away from
either. I just wanted to kind of lighten it up a little bit.
But we had to talk about it. I mean, we just had to.
Yeah, I mean,
I've never seen a presidential candidate try to get assassinated before.
Yeah,
the last president was trying to get assassinated. It was what, Reagan?
Well, no, I think didn't Bobby Kennedy, wasn't he?
No, that was before Reagan.
No, I know.
Oh,
but I'm just saying, was he?
But that wasn't in my time, though.
Right? Yeah, mine either. Yeah.
I think that was in 63 or something.
Right around there, just a little bit after, or no, maybe a little bit later than that. That was during the 68 primary, I think. Yeah. He was running against LBJ. Yeah, that was sad when he got shot for the country. I mean, I wasn't alive, but I'm just saying we got stuck with LBJ. That's why when it comes to presidents and everybody freaking out like, oh my God, if Trump gets elected, it's going to be the end of democracy. Come on, people. From the time JFK got assassinated, late 63, we had to survive LBJ. We survived Nixon. Ford filled in the best he could, but come on, was not a great president. Then you had Carter. So from the end of 63 all the way to 81, we could survive that span and still be a country. We would have made it another 4 years.
If I was only a fly on the wall when Abraham Lincoln did the Civil War to free the slaves, I could just imagine what was being said when he did that, and when the guy went and assassinated him. I could just imagine what they were talking about him being a president. Oh, he's going to have all those blacks take all over.
Oh yeah.
I could just imagine what was being said. So no different than Donald Trump.
Yeah.
No different.
Yeah.
You know, but.
Okay.
All right. We're going to yield our time and talk. Probably bring it up again next week.
Yeah, we will.
Okay. Miss Maxey.
Sorry about that, Miss Maxey.
Okay.
We had to talk about it. Steve and I are talkers. You know that.
I understand.
So. We've been doing this a very long time, Kerri Maxey.
Yes, you can just call me Kerri, please.
Kerri.
Yes.
Well, I want to say your last name a lot because people would resonate in their head when they go to the voting booth.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Miss Maxey, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I was born and raised in a really small town in southern Utah. My dad.
Are you Mormon?
No.
Okay. You don't wear the underwears and all that?
No.
Okay, just checking. I gotta ask.
No. I have nothing against the Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ. You know, their faith, their belief. I have nothing against them.
Absolutely.
My dad was a Vietnam veteran. He served in the Navy as a corpsman.
Are you a brat?
No.
You're not a military brat?
No.
Okay.
My dad really didn't talk about his service. I remember the night terrors. That's what I remember.
Okay.
My mom.
Is he alive?
No, he passed away.
My condolences.
Thank you.
And thank him when you go visit his gravestone for serving our country.
Thank you. He was, when I was 17, he had a stroke that landed him in a nursing home. He was basically nonverbal.
How old was he when he had the stroke?
How old was I?
No,
or him? He was 45.
Oh
I was 17.
That's crazy. That's the exact year my grandma had. She had a massive stroke. Same thing. She couldn't talk.
Yeah, she was basically a vegetable, and he stayed in that state for 5 years before he finally passed away.
My condolences to you.
Thank you. Well, you know, and that story of my dad also kind of takes part of one of the reasons why I'm running for family court, because my parents went through a horrible divorce. I remember it as a child. It affected me then, and it still affects me today. My dad refused to pay child support, and then my mom did the whole, well, you can't see your child. And my dad didn't fight for me. So I never got that father-daughter relationship.
So you were trapped between parent alienation and abandonment.
Correct.
I'm sorry. You
don't apologize. It's what
because I hear
who you are.
Yeah, exactly. It's who I am. It's who it's made me, and I think it's made me a stronger person. It's also made me a person that really identifies that a parent and a child's relationship is so important, and it needs to be protected and not destroyed. Because I wish there was a judge that would have stepped in and forced that relationship between me and my dad. Because I never got that. He passed away before I could get that. So, yeah.
Please continue.
So yeah, very small town, southern Utah. I moved here in 1997 to go to UNLV, and I graduated with a degree in economics, cum laude. I'm pretty proud of that. And then,
congratulations on that.
Thank
it's not
you.
an easy thing to do.
Thank you. I was pretty proud.
Not an easy thing to do.
I wanted to get a master's in economics, but at that time, UNLV didn't have a master's program for economics, and they told me to go to California. I was like, no.
Go to California.
Yeah, I know. I was like, no, Las Vegas is my home. I finally found my home.
Yeah.
And then a teacher said, apply for the Boyd School of Law. I took my LSTAT. Mm-hmm. I walked in cold. I don't know anybody that got a lower score than me. I just remember there was this really horrible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I didn't study. I didn't do anything.
I just caught on. She goes, I don't know anybody had a lower score.
Yeah. I walked in, and all these kids had markers and highlighters and time clocks. And I'm like, oh, what did I get myself into? Mm-hmm. So, I can read. This should be a test.
Right.
I should be able to take this. And there was this horrible question about if Jimmy eats the gray crayon and Sally eats the blue crayon, what crayon is Johnny going to eat? And all I could think is, you're not supposed to eat crayons. Where is that answer?
Is it a mixture between the two?
Yeah, it was like, it was horrible. But I applied for UNLV and I got in. I didn't get waitlisted or anything. And not UNLV, Boyd School of Law. Okay. I didn't get waitlisted, and I graduated cum laude. So, I mean,
congratulations.
Thank you. I might not be the best test taker, but,
Well, there's a lot of people that are like that.
Yeah.
Some people just freeze up on tests.
Mm-hmm.
I've met some of the smartest people. I'm just like, what are you, like the boy genius? Like every time I have a question for you, you know the answer, but yet you get these horrible. And I was just the opposite. I was always really good with tests.
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Because I just don't overthink them.
See, my sister was really good. She passed. She skipped 3rd grade or 2nd grade because she was so good with testing and everything. And then the teachers are telling my parents, maybe she's just not. She's going to be a hard worker. That's what they kept saying.
Oh.
So
please continue with your bio.
Oh, with my bio. Okay. So after I graduated from law school, I took one class in law school that's where I found my passion for representing kids. It was the juvenile justice program. And so I was a law student, and I got to actually represent kids in the courtroom and argue for them. And I was like, all right, I found my profession. This is what I'm going to do. It was only supposed to be for 1 semester, but I convinced my teacher to allow me to do it a 2nd semester. And so I did it for a whole year. And then after I passed the bar, I applied for the public defender's office because I wanted to continue working for kids. And I was just like, let me get my foot in the door. Right. I don't care where they put me because I can work my way to the juvenile division. And they hired me straight for the juvenile division. So I represented kids going through the delinquency process for about almost 16 years, I do believe. Mm-hmm. I represented children in all avenues of the juvenile justice. I even represented kids when they were going through the certification process, which is when the state wants to transfer the child's case to the adult system because they're saying the case is too serious. And when I'm going to say my kid because I always treated every client.
Do you have kids of your own?
No, I don't. I can't have kids. But, maybe it was meant to be because I treated each client as my child. Okay. And so I would follow my kids to the adult system and represent them in the adult system. And I even filed appeals on behalf of them and was able to represent them in the appellate system.
Are you married?
No, I'm a widow.
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
It's okay. He was a juvenile probation officer.
Oh,
my
condolence.
Thank you. He was my balance and my strength and my best friend and my soulmate.
How long ago?
He passed away in 2018. Okay. Mm-hmm. So,
wow. So you had a lot to accomplish there. You had a lot of obstacles in your way.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's okay. Like I said, I don't look at it sad. I cherish every moment that I had with him. I cherish every moment, every memory that I have of my dad. It just makes me a stronger person, a better person. And I think it also makes me more humble.
It makes you humble.
I'm authentic.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
And I want to just add, okay, we had your opponent. We interviewed him at the other studio. Jim. Jim, were you on that?
I probably wasn't.
Okay, so we interviewed him at the other studio we were at, and he had me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, yeah, I like this guy. And I didn't sit on the panel for the endorsement, which is the other thing, and I saw a totally different guy. And I'm saying to myself, this guy, he seems like a narcissist to me. He did not seem humble. He was upset that he was even challenged. I watched that video over and over and over and over again. I think I watched it like 3 or 4 times, the one with you and him. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what is going on with this guy? If he's like this, how is he going to be on the bench? And that's what flipped at me, although I was not one of the voted members, but it flipped at me. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy can't be on the bench. And that was my position. Jim, you were on that interview panel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that impressed me, even though I'm not going to say how I voted because I can't, I was a part of the panel. One of the things that impressed me, and one of my first questions for you, one of the things that kind of frustrates me about family court, because it seems like family court has a lot of issues just by the people we elect to family court. I got some ideas on that. But as far as like, okay, so your background and your experience with being a part of the juvenile part of it, right? And 16 years experience in that. One of the things with the amount of discretion that family court judges have, and they always use for the interest of the child, like you actually have experience with working with those kids that are a part of that system. So you actually have an understanding of what the best interest of the child is. Kind of psychologically, 16 years of experience, you've dealt with a lot of kids, so you have a better handle on it. And that was one of the first things that jumped out at me, because one of the frustrations that I have with family court, some of the family court justices, they may be really smart with the law. I don't know, because for whatever reason, a lot of them don't apply it in their courtroom, which is frustrating. But it's just because they either, one, they don't have children themselves, or they haven't had any experience like you've had with understanding truly what kids are looking for. Mm-hmm. It becomes a catfight between the two parties, and then they make some crazy decisions. So that's one of the reasons why I was glad we endorsed you too, because you have that experience and that background. And I think that's it's much needed on that family court.
Thank you.
Bench, for sure.
I was so honored. And when I got your guys' endorsement, I was very honored, and I felt very proud of myself. Like, oh my gosh,
you should be.
I can do this.
You earned it.
Thank you.
You earned it.
It's not an easy thing to do.
I mean, judicial temperament is huge on the judiciary, and I wish more and more judges would exercise that. Mm-hmm. And you did. I mean, he was slamming you, saying all kinds of mean stuff about why you were there, and you were just calm, cool, and collective, and that's very admirable.
Thank you.
And I wish a lot of judges would be the same way, because you could get a lot more accomplished with a calmer head than you can being erratic and taking it personal and put your ego in the way. And that's what I saw at that interview process, is his ego. He couldn't move his ego out of the way. And that's troublesome to me, especially being a judge. Mm. But you did an excellent job.
Thank you.
You handled yourself very well.
Thank you.
Please continue.
So I did leave the public defender's office after my husband passed away. Okay. It was a lot, because I was grieving him not only at home but also at work. Mm-hmm. Took some time to myself just to learn how to live and learn how to live by myself. And then my best friend basically told me, she's like, you got to get a job. You got to get back to work. You're talking.
Idle hands.
Yeah,
Idle
exactly.
Hands, yeah.
So I still wanted to represent kids, but I decided I wanted to represent a kid that was in a different situation. I went to legal aid and applied for their guardianship advocacy program. And I represented kids going through the guardianship process. And that was eye-opening, because a lot of those kids also have crossover cases with custody. I probably shouldn't have, because I don't think it was covered underneath the insurance of legal aid, but I followed those kids over into their custody cases too. And I got to see how the kids were treated during those custody cases, and how it would seem like everybody was so wrapped up with the adults and the parents, they're forgetting that there's a kid in the courtroom that has feelings and an emotion and a voice too. They forget that kids have opinions. Why aren't we listening to their opinions more often?
Let me ask you a couple of questions. Mm-hmm. And I understand that in family court, there is no jury box.
Correct.
Okay. Do you believe that, this is just an opinion based, do you believe that a jury box should be in the family courtroom, especially when it comes to relocation of children and termination of parental rights? Two big things: relocation of children. Mom could take the children to Australia for all I know. Relocation, that means they're not in not in my state, not in my city. And termination of parental rights. Do you think one judge should be that one judge to make that decision, or a jury, or a tribunal of a panel of 3 judges to come up with a decision that this child should be removed from that parent, because that's a big deal.
It is a big deal, and it's a lot of power for one person to have.
Yeah.
And if you don't take that power responsibly and understand how it can affect, you're affecting a whole family.
Generations
Too. Yeah. So I wouldn't, if there was initiative on the ballot, I would vote for a 3-panel judge or even a jury. I wouldn't. That responsibility should be scary to that one person.
It should be.
And having that one person on the bench that doesn't see the immensity and how scary it is, and just like, it's not a big deal, I'm just going to make a decision. That's scary.
That's scary.
That's scary. So I wouldn't, me personally, I wouldn't oppose anything like that.
My other big peeve on for family court judges, I mean, I have so many, but these are the ones that's just standing out to me. Vexatious litigants, and I hear that a lot. 65% of family court is pro se litigants. Mm-hmm. People, mom and dads, representing and grandparents, mm-hmm. don't forget the grandparents, represent themselves. And you got a lot of emotion, you got a lot of compassion, mm-hmm. you don't have too much legalese, but you try to do your best, especially when you're, I'd rather spend my money on my child's education or what have you, instead of putting it in an attorney. Or maybe you don't even have the money. Maybe you were at-home mom for the past whatever, raising 3 or 4 kids, and now you're thrown into a court system. You have no idea and no funding to defend yourself, while dad or mom, depends on who's the one raising the kid, have all the money, have all access to funding. And then you get, probably overzealous, mm-hmm. and the court say, well, you're a vexatious litigant, and you say, wait a minute. Isn't that a violation of my constitutional right? You are just silencing me for trying to defend my case. Yes. You're tying my hands, you're shutting my mouth, and you're silent. That's a violation of my constitutional rights. Have you done that to any attorneys that doesn't even care about my kids, but only doing it for the love of the money? And they're overzealous with their pleadings and their motions. Have you ever found an attorney vexatious? You probably have not. But little old me, you're finding me vexatious because I love my child and I want my kid. The attorney only wants the damn money. He probably don't even know my name the next year or two, unless the case is in there for 17 years, like some of these cases in family court. How do you feel about vexatious litigants?
You said it's a silencing technique, and I agree with that. It is a way to silence a party. Right. And if you're going to be silencing a party, that is something that can't just be done willy-nilly. You've got to really think about it, because again, I understand where you're going with this. By silencing them, you're giving that person you're taking away that person's ability to have their day in the courtroom.
They can't defend themselves.
And they can't defend themselves. I mean, and so I understand why it all came about. I read the history on it. It came from England, I understand all that. But just because you have a difficult party in front of you that is passionate, that is standing up for themselves, they shouldn't be just a vexatious litigant. Yes. That's the thing, let them have their day in court. Let them have their say and then make your decision.
You know what, Miss Maxey, I've been in this family court, not as long as you have, and I'm not an attorney. I've been advocating for family court since 2016 on a constant. I even wrote a book, should be coming out sometime this year. It's a self-help book, it's how to navigate through the system. And I've always said that nobody's going to take this seriously until somebody gets shot. And I said that from 2016, and I said it now. And now all of a sudden, it's front page news. Somebody got shot. Somebody got killed. Emotions was involved, and threats were there. You won't see your kids anymore. This is what's going to happen. You're not going to see your grandkid. You can't do that to people. You can't, because somebody's child, people would scar the earth for their kids.
Correct.
And you're going to want to just tell them they can't see their kids. I have litigants that haven't seen their kids in 7-10 years.
And they want to see their kids.
And you know what? They've done stupid things along the way, but you got murderers in prison that's seeing their kids behind bars. And then, especially when it comes to the male populace, you say, well, men are always running away from the women. They're not taking care of their responsibilities. They're not taking care of their children. And then you have men fighting to be a part of their kids' lives. And you got the court roadblock. No, you can't see your kids. And then you have some judges saying, hey, you know what? You can't see your child until you pay for this child supervisor, or this counselor, or this therapist. And then the courts are being parentally alienation, if you want to use that word. They're the ones that's alienating the children from the parents when they make that kind of statement. I've had videotapes on our YouTube channel when judges saying exactly that. You can't see your child until you pay for the psychiatric evaluation, which the court's one that told them to go to. Speaking of that, how do you feel about people using their own insurance to get these psychiatric evaluations or these counseling or these therapy, instead of the court saying, you know what, pick from this list of 3, you agree counsel, and then we're going to take that person. And we're talking $10,000, $15,000, some of them. Mm-hmm. And they're very expensive.
Yeah, because a lot of the litigants will go, hey, but none of the 3 choices that you gave me, the court gave them, is in my network, so it won't be covered by my insurance. So to Steve's point, shouldn't they be able to go to someone that's in their insurance network as long as it's approved by the court? They do have to have proper certifications and stuff. You can't just go, hey, Steve, can you sign it? You know what I mean? Like it's got to be on the up and up, but... And I didn't mean to interrupt. Steve was basically asking the same question, but yeah, it's just, it's really, and that's why, and Steve's the one that really got me involved in this. Before then, I was pretty much a typical voter. Would I vote for family court judges? Yes. But would I be that educated on them? No. Another down ticket race, right? Oh yeah. But I have to vote for every single race. I just have to. That's just me. I've always been that way my whole life. But yeah, that's one of the big things. Like, would you be willing to do that?
Yes, as long as it was a certified
right, yeah.
family child therapist that has the qualifications. I do want to say having the court give the 3 doctors is actually better than when it was just 1 doctor that was cherry picked by the judge. Yeah, so that is a progress. That's progress.
Right.
Progress. It is progress.
It is progress. Right.
But I mean, as long as both litigants are okay with it and there's no objection and that doctor is qualified, that therapist is qualified, why have an issue?
Yeah.
Who am I to have an issue over that?
Here's one of my favorite, Miss Maxey, and you tell me how you feel about this. Okay. And let's say I find you in contempt of court. I'm the family court judge.
All right.
You're in contempt of court.
Why, Your Honor?
We're going to have a trial. You're in contempt of court. And you might be facing possibly jail time too, there, Miss Maxey. But family court judges are civil.
Correct.
They're not criminal.
Correct.
Shouldn't the family court judge move this over to the justice of the peace or the criminal court to find you in contempt? Because if I find you in contempt, I'm already biased. I'm the judge. Mm-hmm. What do you think is going to happen in trial? I'm going to find you guilty. I'm already said we have to go to trial for you being in contempt. So I'm already there. Isn't that biased though? The same person that's finding you in contempt is the same person that's going to conduct your contempt trial. I'm just like, did I miss something?
Well, that's something that the chief judge could address, and change it so that if a judge is finding a person in contempt or saying, I'm going to find you in contempt, let's move the hearing to another judge that doesn't have all the facts.
A lot of these litigants, man, they're so swarmed with emotions. They're trying to make ends meet.
Sure.
Their whole life just turned upside down. They don't know the procedures or the process to go to no chief judge. They don't even know what a chief judge is. You'd be lucky if they found a parking lot just to come and see you.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
And the book that I wrote, the 55 chapters, by the way, it has all that in there.
Oh, good. Good.
Has all that in there.
I'm going to read your book.
But you want an autograph copy?
Sure. Absolutely.
$5.99.
Okay.
But how do you feel about that?
About the contempt and that the same judge?
Yeah.
I mean,
if you found somebody in contempt, well, what do you? All right. So I'm in your courtroom.
Yeah.
I'm running my mouth.
Yeah.
I'm running my mouth. Judge.
Yeah.
I'm talking over you. You're Samuel Sampson. And then bailiff starts moving closer. Oh, what are you going to do, bailiff? And I'm just being a total butt. You find me in contempt.
Okay.
Trial's over. The case is. You want to go moving right to. What would you do?
I think that, first of all, the person needs to have more notice. If you're going to find them in contempt, you can't just do it right there on the spot. Mm-hmm. They have to have an opportunity to have a hearing, or else their due process rights are going to be taken away from them. Also, you're looking at taking their freedom away, because you can put them in jail for this. Mm-hmm.
And they can't go to work.
And they can't go to work.
They can't pay the rent.
Correct. Which then how are they going to take care of their child? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you got to take it serious. You can't just willy-nilly it again. But I understand your point. I truly understand your point. And I think maybe a lot of judges, their ego get in the way and they just do it.
That's what impressed me when I saw you do that interview. You're just chill. You're just cool Maxey, cool Maxey. And here's one for you. So I'm in court with my attorney, and my attorney gets up and says, Your Honor, I don't want to represent this clown anymore. I'm out of here. And I've seen a lot of judges say, okay, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. Attorney, you could leave. And you'd be like, wait a minute, I have no legal representation now. What am I supposed to do? Oh, you're going to have to represent yourself. Oh, well, could I get a continuance, Your Honor? Oh, no. Time is counting down. You're going to have to represent yourself right now, right here, right. And I've seen that. And I'm like, what is going? This is why I'm so, you know what? And people say to me, Miss Maxey, they say, Steve, why are you so, compassionate and have so much, passion about this? You don't have no case in family court. You have nothing to do with family court. And they're absolutely right. I don't have a case in family court. But this is what I say to them. I could be on the outside of the door, okay? And I could think rational. I could think educational, with some type of mindset and compassionate. And I could think it through, because if it comes on knocking on my door, all that nice thinking is out the window. Mm-hmm. Now it's emotions. Now it's like anger. Now it's frustration, you see? And so I tell people, look, I don't want to come knocking on my door when I'm, for it to come back. I want to rather knock on somebody else's door. That way we could deal with the problem and we could fix it before it ever come knocking on I don't think it would ever come knocking on my door right now, right? I got 2 grandbabies. Probably never come knocking.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Probably never come knocking on but now I'm thinking about my kids and my grandbabies. It could be knocking on my daughter's door, right? Mm-hmm. Right? And I don't want to knock on my daughter's door, because the emotion and the passion is still going to be there, because those are my grandkids and that's my daughter, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to make sure I try to fix it in some way, by educating the public, by exposing the corruption, by putting good quality judges behind that bench so it could better serve the public. So if it ever comes knock on my door or my family's door, we'll have a fair process.
A fair process, and I think the judge also has to have empathy.
Right.
I think that's a lot of the issues, is they lose their empathy when they get on the bench.
What do you want to be a family court judge?
Why or what?
Why?
Yes.
Why?
The seed was planted in my head about 2 years ago. I never.
There's a rap song that starts off with 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
2 years ago, a friend of mine want me to say these MC rhymes. I said this rhyme I'm about to say. That's how it sounds. He's like, oh, this man
you know
crazy.
No,
I told you going to jump in with the rap
no,
song.
I was about ready to ask him who actually was singing that song.
I think it was Sugar Hill or
Okay,
something
so
like
let's
that.
let Sugar Hill do that. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Miss Max.
About 2 years ago, I was in front of a family court judge. It was a custody case, and representing my kid, it was a crossover case. And this judge made such a horrible decision. Not only did he basically overturn the guardianship order, you know, we got two different district court judges overturning each other. That's, I don't think, even lawful or ethical. I mean, it's horrible.
I don't think it is if they're on the same level.
They're on the same level.
It would have to go to the appellate level.
Exactly. I agree with that. And I was like, I just thought it was just so unlawful and then just very dangerous for the child because of the reason why the guardianship judge had her order was for the safety of the kid. And that family court judge just ignored it. And I was complaining about it. I was at legal aid and just complaining. And finally my team lead's like, shut up, Kerri, just go run for judge. Go make those decisions. So that seed got planted then. And then I started really watching the judges, listening to them. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're not doing a very good job. I mean, you got some that are
my court observing team.
yeah. I mean, there's some that are awesome, right. And I absolutely love them, and they do. But there's some that I just don't disagree. I don't agree with what they're doing, yeah. And I was like, okay, I guess I do need to step up and run.
I had a family court judge a while back, and it was one that we've had issues with, let's put it this way, through the observation program. But, and it was a he. Steve probably knows who I'm alluding to on this one, but he's like, I don't understand why your group originally endorsed me when I originally ran, and now all of a sudden I'm on the outs with you guys. And I'm like, well, because when you originally ran, Judge, I guess we didn't do our due diligence to follow up to realize, to see if you really understood that there's this amendment in the Constitution called the 14th Amendment. It's called due process. And when we observed you before you started closing all your cases, funny enough, when you would see us walking down the hallway to observe your courtroom, all of a sudden, oh, this case is closed, you can't come in here.
Court observers.
Yeah. So I was like, we didn't do our due diligence follow up, but now that we understand that you have no idea of what the 14th Amendment is, or you do and you just choose not to apply it in a courtroom. So that's my answer to your question.
There has been a big turnaround from when we first started this process in family court till now, and I still hear complaints, but not as much as I did back in 16, 17, 18. Lots and lots and lots of complaints. Enough to put me in legal matters because, but I was very successful. And don't do that again. But Ms. Maxey, thank you so much for coming on the program. Is there anything that you want to say that we haven't covered?
I think it's important for a person that's on the bench that understands and has represented a kid. I mean, not everybody on the bench has to represent a child, but it's so important for the person on the bench to understand not only childhood brain development, the effects to a child when a child is exposed to domestic violence. And not only and also in utero too, because that affects the brain development of the child.
Do you think a child should be represented by counsel?
If in a utopia world, if I had my complete wish, every child would be represented by counsel, and every adult would also be represented by counsel.
Is a guardian ad litem effective?
The difference between what I did and a guardian ad litem is I'm client directed. So I listen to that kid. And I represent that child's wishes. It might not be what I think is in the best interest.
I want to go with mom because she feeds me Kentucky Fried Chicken on
It could
Fridays.
be that. It could be that. But it also be good. Like, I want to go with dad because mom's boyfriend is doing this and this to me. So, you got to listen to the kids. They're so authentic.
And that's funny. It's about the children.
It is about the children.
But yet the children are not present.
Yes, the children aren't present. Nobody listens to them. And so it's so important for the judges in family court to listen to that child. Oh, and just I do want to explain. The guardian ad litem represents only the best interests of the child. So that guardian ad litem can walk into the courtroom, represent that child without ever meeting that child. So that's the only issue I have with them.
Basically it's just like as long as there's some sort of representation, then that's covered.
Yeah.
But it's not, like you say, it's not actually really
They're not client directed.
Yeah, client directed.
Yes.
Ms. Maxey, I would love to have you on again. Would you come back?
Yes, I would.
And then the reason why I want to cut this a little shorter than because I have lots more questions because I have tickets for Ziggy Marley.
Ooh, how fun.
Yeah, Mom, I'm going to come back to you, man.
Yeah, let's leave that to Ziggy Marley.
So, Jim, do you have anything else for Ms. Maxey?
Actually, no questions. I just want to say something to the viewers and listeners. Our organizations have already endorsed you, but I want to say I personally endorse you as well.
Oh, wow.
Okay, just
Thank
a personal endorsement. And the reason why is because I did very impressed with your background, your demeanor, the education level that you have in dealing with children, and the fact that I feel, but now still hold you accountable to this when you get elected, that you'll bring something in. There are good family court judges. I don't want people to think that I think all family court judges are bad. I don't. But one of the things I really like to see in Department N is I have a lot of attorney friends that refuse to go into family court because they're like, we don't know what the rules are. Judges aren't following the Constitution. And I think that cuts down on representation too for clients. So that might also be leading to a lot of pro se litigants. So I believe you'll follow the Constitution. It's something we really need in family court. I was very impressed with your interview with the panel and also with this one. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Ms. Maxey, could you look into the camera and tell folks why they should go to the voting booth and put you behind that bench on November 5th?
On November 5th, you have a choice. Since you have a choice, you can choose to vote for a champion, a person who has been a champion for children, who's protected their constitutional rights, their legal interests, and their voice. Or you can choose to vote for status quo. And I think hopefully you'll vote for a champion.
Point of contact.
Oh, yes. My website is Maxey, MAXEY, 4 judge.com. Again, MAXEY, 4 judge.com.
Yeah?
That's it.
Well, okay. Carrie Maxey, thank you so much for being on the program. Jim, thank you so much for being on the program. Folks, that's Carrie Maxey. She is running for Clark County Family Court Division, Department N, and she has been endorsed by Veterans in Politics International, Nevada Veterans Association, the Armed Forces Chamber PAC, and Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Families Caucus. All those organizations have endorsed Ms. Maxey for Clark County Family Court, and we would hope that you go to the voting booth and vote for Ms. Maxey for that bench as well. And this is the entire county of Clark, from all the way from Mount Charleston to Laughlin, from Searchlight to Prim, Moapa, Good Springs. The entire Clark County is going to have Ms. Maxey on the ballot. Please vote for her. She will do us well. She'll do your children well. She knows a lot about the juvenile department, and she will help make the family court bench, like Donald Trump say, make it great again. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics. Until next time.